So what is the real problem here? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Let's get into a chart. This is from JP Morgan. So if you add $100,000 in a savings account, this is how much annual interest you would make. That's represented by the gray bar. What are these blue lines? Okay, well, that's how much interest you would need to earn to basically break even with the rate of inflation. I'm looking at 2020 when this chart was done, and you're only getting $280 in interest compared with 20 years earlier, you're getting $6,000. And by the way, stuff was cheaper in 2000, so that $6,000 had even more purchasing power. So you want to talk about the Fed backing themselves into a corner or painting themselves into a corner. This is the best example I can give you.
This is why I've been wondering if it's possible that the Fed is raising interest rates for reasons that aren't necessarily related to inflation or unemployment. Some have said that the Fed has a third mandate, and that's to ensure that the US dollar remains the world's reserve currency, a status which is currently under threat.
But the dominance of the dollar is now under threat. More and more countries are looking for alternatives, and China's yuan is emerging as a clear challenger. Beijing is pursuing a string of deals. The latest one is with Brazil. Brazil and China are ditching the dollar. From now on, they'll use their own currencies for trade. Some 40% of the world's debt is issued in US dollars. Nearly 60% of the global currency reserves are in US dollars, and close to 90% of all foreign exchange trade involves the US dollar. The world economy is hooked to the dollar, but now it wants to give up this addiction, but it'll not happen overnight. The dollar's downfall, though, has begun.
Let's read this tweet from Miss Lagarde herself. Central banks must keep up with digital innovation. I wonder what kind of innovation she's referring to, or digital innovation. And what is she keeping up with? You mean you're trying to keep up with cryptocurrency, or with China, trying to keep up with them because they've already rolled out their central bank digital currency and their social score. The two pretty much go hand in hand. She says to ensure payments are dependable and the financial system remains stable. Pretty much exactly what I've been saying. They're going to use a crisis to roll out whatever their plan is.
The Securities and Exchange Commission is gearing up to take on Coinbase in the next never-ending lawsuit that will have profound consequences for all of crypto. The SEC could well be going after Coinbase as part of its wider crusade against proof-of-stake cryptocurrencies. Perhaps Coinbase will prove a bridge too far for the SEC, or perhaps the agency is only just getting started. But for the wider crypto industry, particularly those projects out there building away like mad, forewarned is forearmed, and the best weapon to have in your armory is decentralization. Now, with luck, what we'll end up with is a crypto industry where only the best and most decentralized projects survive, and where all the crap never gets a chance to rise to the surface. We are a long way from that point right now, but we're going to have to try and get there ASAP, because the alternative is not a place we want to end up in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the quarterly report for Dash Incubator, covering the first quarter of the year 2023. Today, I am joined by the Dash Incubator's three strategists, Rion, Ash, and Tim. Hello, fellas.
Hello.
Great. So today, we are going to start out with lead strategist Rion giving us a sort of retrospective of everything that happened this past quarter. And then each of the strategists are going to give us a personal presentation from their point of view of what they funded, what they didn't fund, and any general thoughts they have about that with regards to the last quarter, and then give us a financial statement. And then after those presentations, Rion will wrap us up with this sort of forward-looking overview of what's to come with both the Dash Incubator and the Dash Network as a whole. Should you have any questions throughout, of course, always feel free to put them in the live chat, and we will answer the relevant ones at one point or another. So I will hand it over to you, Rion.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. As some of you can probably tell already, I've pretty much lost my voice. I have been sick for the past week or so. So I'm just getting over that, I feel like, but my voice has just died on me. It probably has something also to do with all the podcasts that I've been doing lately. I'm sure everybody's kind of seen a lot of me recently. So hopefully we can hear a little bit more from our other two strategists today rather than me. But yeah, I did want to give a little bit of an overview of the incubator this past quarter. I don't have anything specifically prepared. I do want to just have this kind of be more of an informal discussion amongst us strategists, how we personally felt about how this past quarter has gone. And honestly, since this is our first quarterly meeting, I wanted to, maybe we could even take a little retrospective of our whole experience with the incubator and have an honest discussion about what we feel we've done well, what we feel we can improve upon, and how things are going right now. So I will give, just my perspective of the past quarter, and like I said, the past maybe year or so of the incubator. Amanda, if you could pull up my screen share real quick. This is one of the purposes here is to give somewhat of a video format of our quarterly proposals, so that if you don't want to, if you rather consume this information via video rather than reading the proposal, then this should be able to give you a pretty good idea of where we're at. So as you can see, this is the chart that I usually give in our quarterly proposals that sums up how much we've spent over the entire history of the incubator, and more in particular, what we spent over this quarter. So this quarter was our first quarter where we were requesting 1,000 Dash per month. And we also got pretty close to spending about that much. So 960 Dash is what we averaged per month over this quarter. So again, that's on a monthly basis. And I have seen a few people ask, I'd like to see incubator request more than this, because I've had quite a bit of positive feedback. But just as a heads up, our plan, or at least my plan, and I'd have to discuss this fully with the strategist. I think that we're probably on board with this. I don't plan to ask more than 1,000 Dash this coming quarter. That's kind of a broader strategy for the incubator. Is my purpose isn't to try to get as much Dash as we can from the network and just continue to grow and grow like you might normally see. Am I still?
You're good. Yep.
Like you might normally see a corporation try to, continue to grow like that, but rather, as the name suggests, Dash Incubator, I kind of see this more as we're trying to incubate projects, and not just projects, but incubate teams of developers and project managers and things like that, to eventually be their own proposals. So rather than increasing over 1,000 Dash, I would much rather see one of our strategists kind of peel off and say, I've now had enough experience in the incubator that I feel like I'm able to make my own proposal to the network. And that way masternode owners can see or can have a little bit more granularity in their voting, so that we have more. That would be my ideal, and that's kind of my goal. It's been a little slower than I'd hoped, but that's my original goal, is to get more proposal owners competing against each other to provide value for Dash. So I think that we've done a good job this past quarter. I think that one of the highlights that is different this quarter than last quarter is the fact that we've been doing these weekly updates. And I hope that's been helpful for people to kind of get a closer view of what we're doing in the incubator on a weekly basis rather than just a quarterly basis, and specific to each project instead of like an overview of everything. So I guess that's what I have to say to begin with, and then I guess we can move on to our next point.
Great. Okay, so then that will be Tim, who will tell us what he had in particular going on this past quarter. Would you like the screen share back on Ryan's end, Tim?
Oh yeah, if you could please.
Sure thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Show the list. I apologize. It's not a very exciting list. I was commenting earlier. This is a extremely busy last couple of months for me personally. So,
well, I actually have something to add to that as you're getting into it. Here's your list, by the way, Tim.
Yep.
Starting here for everybody else that's looking. One of the challenges with the incubator that I've seen is that we don't actually have anybody that's working full time, at least on any kind of payroll or anything. So it is challenging to try to juggle. People have their own things going, and a lot of times incubator work kind of just fits in the cracks. And that does have its pros and cons, but yeah, I don't exactly know what to do with that yet, but it is something that I would like to try to address over time somehow, to get more. Like there's only so much we can do with nobody really working full time. Yeah. That is one of the challenges. But go ahead, Tim. I'll let you to take it away here.
So that's a question. Yeah, because I have thoughts specifically around that from my own perspective. And do we want to spend this more as a discussion, or do we want to do a flyover of everything? What is this, a dozen different things that I can spend 90 seconds?
Why don't we go ahead and do the flyover, and then we can discuss after that.
So these are ranked in order of how much is paid for them. Atomic swaps. Quick descriptions. Atomic swaps is developing a mechanism so that individuals can set up within their own app, within their own website, within something that they want to do.
Tim, just real quick, can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, the right column here is the sum of the total rewards, this is how much Dash we've spent on this particular project over the quarter, just quarter Q1 of 2023, and then this is just the number of tasks that were completed on those. So this isn't that important of a column here, but this is the total Dash that's been allocated to this project, and it's going to go out of view, but that's what that is now.
So atomic swaps is the capability to swap Dash right now for ETH. It'll be across, and it's specifically setting up the infrastructure so that any other developer can go ahead and use an SDK and prepackage so that they don't have to go out and write their own code. for it to. And the whole thinking is that is part of the purpose of the incubator is to make Dash more accessible and more useful. And one of those uses is being able to exchange it for others without necessarily having to go to one of the big exchanges. And this was more active earlier on in the quarter, and the biggest pain point is it was a bounty that had been abandoned a year or so ago, and then when we went through all the shuffle, that was one of the ones that I picked up, and I had a developer who was eager to get into it. And as we got into it, there was a lot more that needed to be done in order to bring it up to date with all the changes that had happened across platform and across testnet. And so and we continue to run into, this is one of the difficulties that we have, is we do continue to run into as testnet changes, a lot of infrastructure and a lot of code that has been developed needs to then be changed again. And the result is that things get a little bit slower, and we might be at a point where we can test and show, and then there's a new update to the network, and we have to then make corresponding updates to code bases that are already in place for some of these other pieces. Goal challenge platform is actually the one that I'm most excited about. This is one that one of the things that I like to think about is, from my perspective, when and how would I use Dash? And one of those things that I like that it facilitates is things like the goal challenge, which was based on the idea of StepBet. If you're not familiar with StepBet, it's an app out there that you bet on yourself to walk so many steps in a day, and then so many steps in a week, and then so many steps in a year, and you can join different challenges. And if you match that number of steps, then you get your wager back. And if you don't match the goal, then you don't get your wager back. And then the excess wager is then split up between everybody that accomplished the bet. And the original thinking behind this is not only is this a great use case for Dash, but it also enables us to start to branch into the use of smart contracts and other things to be able to individuals can create their own games or challenges. And so you can have challenges about how much code can you write, and you can have challenges about how many books can you read, and we can set up through APIs, actually automate, did I meet that challenge, and then automate the payments out or the loss that I've committed, and then the community that can develop around that. And so you have users using Dash for the wagers and the rewards, but then also engaging with each other through the we're all engaged in the challenge to attempt to do something better, to set goals, to meet those goals. Platform console is another one that I inherited. That is building a UI based, browser based wallet on platform that will eventually enable all of the advantages that platform brings, but without the user needing to do any command line interface, without them needing to understand any code. So it's an easy, simple way of introducing and getting new users into the Dash ecosystem. When I first started in this, I spent 6 months just looking at crypto going, this is entirely too much. I don't know how to get into this. I don't know how to create wallets. I understand, but it's terrifying because hashes and paper and all this stuff feels so foreign and difficult.
And as I remember about this specific project, I was somewhat aware of what was going on with this one way back, like 2 years ago. And so it was also a way to view your contracts that you've created on platform.
Almost like a platform explorer that you can,
exactly. Yeah. I think Ash probably had some fingers on that as well.
A while back, yeah.
Yeah. So Tim has done the hard work of just kind of like picking up some of these abandoned projects from the past and trying to make sense of them.
Sometimes with more success than others.
Yep.
That's a question there, Ryan. This document is public. This is the Dash Incubator's public accounting sheet. It's just a tab along the bottom, one of the individual sheets. If you go to dashincubator.app, you'll be able to see this, and it's being shared in chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is the reward summary tab.
Yeah, there was another question as well, which was how did you spend your Dash? So the incubator just awards Dash to developers on a bounty basis. So we're not spending Dash per se or exchanging Dash. This is just going to the developers and the contributors in various ways, and they're then doing what they want with it.
Yep.
Local money.
Back to you, Tim.
Local money is, it's very similar to the local Bitcoin, which actually just shut down. So it is a peer-to-peer way to facilitate. I have fiat in some form and I want to purchase Dash, and I have Dash in some form and I'd like to get fiat for it. And ideally, I'd like to do it with somebody local or who at least I can vet and verify and trust. And so it's building up that platform to be able to enable that. It's going to be web-based initially, and maybe in the future it can become this is one of those pieces that, to Ryan's point earlier, could become its own proposal in the future for continuing to build it out and build in more. Right now it's an MVP, so there's lots of questions around how would you handle things like disputes, or how do we handle automations behind, okay, money has arrived through PayPal, for example, and how to automate some of those pieces so that it's not always a button click by a human that is required to do the final, everything's buttoned up and the exchange can happen. DashMate, this was featured several weeks ago, and the technology there had gotten old and out of date. And this bounty is specifically around bringing it up to date, keeping it maintained. There were several bugs that have been squashed now. And then how can we innovate and improve it for both user functionality for end users, for the node operators, but then also make it a more integrated piece with a lot more benefits to its use. So it's not just useful for setting up a node. The interactive Dash ecosystem webpage is a mouthful and is related to another interactive Dash, which I believe actually Rion owns. And it is answering the question of what is everything that's inside the Dash ecosystem. What are the technologies involved? What are the different components that actually make everything up, so that you can explore it through an infographic and be able to zoom in and zoom out. And then there's also local language capabilities within it. And this has been kind of buttoning up what currently exists. You can get to the image on dash.org, I believe. And then long term, it will turn into much more of an interactive and ongoing updated. These are the technologies, these are the pieces you need to know, and be able to explore what all is going on beyond just the technical infrastructure.
So I think a lot of people have seen the image behind this. It's that big globe looking thing with solar system looking thing. The name of the person who built this is not coming to mind right now, but he's very well known in the community. But yeah, this is just the web page, bringing that image to a web page because it's so involved, right?
Yep.
So you can zoom in and out, right?
And then the last ones you can see, there wasn't a whole bunch of activity. A lot of these were just kind of floating along. The private messenger DApp it's a private messenger. It's peer-to-peer, facilitating the network, or not facilitated by the network. Dash core contributions, I'm the strategist on that. That bounty is actually managed by DCG, and Pasta it has
specifically.
Yeah, Pasta specifically, and it's community contributions to the network, specifically that DCG is requesting or needing, and you can find those issues in their Git repo and make claim to make those contributions, and then Pasta will review and merge and pay that out. The incubator updates. Oh, that was this. That was the one contribution that I had to this whole thing. All the updates was something like this ongoing process of weekly, monthly, and quarterly updates from the strategist and for the community in general was an idea that Ryan and I had banged around last year sometime and put together the initial scope of what it could entail. And then back earlier in the winter, Amanda saw it and said, I want this. And Ryan asked, and I said, yes, she can have this because I don't have the time. And I think this is really important and it needs to happen.
Well, more so, I think it was just like offering to help with it, to help host it. But yeah, Tim obviously, well, not obviously, but I wanted to say Tim was instrumental in getting this actually like going. I had been dragging my feet for a long time, not because I didn't want to do it, but just because I didn't know how to do it and get it in the priority list. So I'm thankful for you, Tim, for getting me going on this. As you can see, that was just that one task to get it going. But I think this has been one of the best things. I'll talk more about this when I do my part, but this is one of the best things that I think we've done, just because it keeps us on our toes and always needing something to report to the network about what we're doing on a weekly basis.
And part of the other thinking behind it, which I'm hopeful that we can get more and more into it too, was my initial thinking was approaching it from we need to operate a bit more as a team. One of the difficulties of the incubator is that we are decentralized.
Everybody's
in decentralization is also that we're not in coordination with each other as much as would be helpful or could be helpful. I think there's a lot of opportunity to coordinate more closely between the strategists and then also with the rest of the community. And one of the part of the thinking is to be able to elevate these bounties and to be able to say, like, this is what's going on, to get it out there so you don't have to just read through the Trello board as a developer to know what's going on. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody has the time to do that. And there's probably a lot of contributions that are opportunities for contributions that other devs just don't know exist, because they're not going to go read a bunch of cards and try and figure out, well, what's actually available and what's not. What does this mean? And how can I contribute? And so being able to highlight what are the projects that we're working on, not just for the accountability of it, but also for the, hey, we need help. These are the things that are in flight, and it would be super, super useful. Yep. The Coindurance site.
Did you say anything about Dash Stamp?
Oh, Dash Stamp. Sorry. Dash Stamp is network document notary. So, and I like this idea. This is another really solid idea that once I saw it, this is another one that I inherited, but this is one of the ones that I inherited that I actually have a lot of like personal excitement about it. But the idea that like you can, it's not just versioning of documents, but it's actually the signing of the document and being able to see that. And so we have a lot of places where notary of a document is important. That doesn't necessarily mean that smart contracts are a great use, but to be able to sign that we have both agreed to this and have that exist and not have to go to the UPS store or whomever to spend $20 for somebody to sign it with you and then stamp it. You know, it's a great way of making that a more accessible piece also for people to be able to do and be able to do it more remotely instead of having to go through the hassle of remote documents and notary, which is not easy and is a pain. The Coindurance site, honestly, I don't remember exactly what that one is. I think
I'll talk about this.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah, well, because this gives me an opportunity to say how another part of the process of the incubator. When a strategist has an idea and he wants to make a project out of it, he normally, like, it's up to the strategist to accept any proposed concepts into the incubator. But we do have a rule that says, like, if I'm the one that proposes an idea, I need somebody else to accept the idea, one of the other strategists to accept the idea. So Tim looked over this. This was my idea, this site. I'll talk more about it on my section. But because Tim accepted it, his review of that, which was, just this 1.2 dash that was given to me for the concept, and the 0.2 is the 20% that he gets for administering that task, that one task. That's all that is. So again, I'll talk more about the actual project on my section. And then I think the incubator getting started was pretty much, that's an old.
That's an old Hangout one, which I like and needs some work and really needs some help. But the whole point is to create a place where new contributors can get started quickly and easily. Right now, if you want to contribute, you either need to be extremely bold and willing to just throw yourself onto the Discord and throw yourself into the Trello and start saying, hey, I can help here. Somebody please give it to me. Or you need to know someone that can hold your hand and kind of walk you into the waters. This is an attempt to bridge that gap. Not everybody's going to just throw themselves into it. And as we know, like, not everybody really has the time to even try and do that. And then not everybody already knows someone. Many of us were introduced by someone else that we knew, but eventually there was someone up the stream who saw it and said, I want to be involved and jump in. And so this is the how-tos for, I'm new to Dash, I'm new to the incubator, and I would like to be involved in this. How do I get started? And that one task was someone reading through documentation that had been built and providing feedback and getting back to us. And with that, unfortunately, I don't get to participate in the rest of the discussion because I have to go to the rest of my life that Ryan was referring to earlier.
Bye, Tim.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Yep.
Okay, so that was actually going to be the point at which it's time for you to cover your projects anyway, Ryan, so go on ahead.
Okay. If Ash wants to go instead of me right now, that would be great, because I know that Ash has...
Yeah, you can have a break from
speaking. And he's created a slideshow. And I think that would give the audience a good break from me and this little Excel spreadsheet. So,
well, let's do her.
Okay. So I just wanted to create a little something to help me stay on track and keep my mind focused on what I want to talk about. So these are the core projects that I funded this quarter. The top three projects are all very tied to each other, but I'll explain that more as I go through. So firstly, we have the Dash platform extension. This is really a proof of concept or an MVP for a MetaMask for Dash and for Dash platform specifically, as well as a library for dApp developers to use in their various dApps that will then facilitate that communication between the extension and the dApp itself. So for example, let's say you had a Web3 game, but you needed someone to authorize transactions, or you wanted to store the state of that game on Dash platform. You could then share a key between the Dash platform extension and the dApp using this library and with this extension, and then you'd have permission to write to that associated data contract. There's been quite a lot of work completed on this. As you can see on the list there, I don't want to read through the whole slide, but there's some more upcoming work in terms of extending it all, fleshing out the functionality. As mentioned, this project is somewhat of a reference project. It's not really intended to be used alone in production. It will be used as part of a larger scale production level project. The next one is Dash Core extension. So this is, again, this was actually inherited from DCG. They were working on it internally, but they need to spin it out. And we spun this out with another developer, and actually my first admin that sits underneath me as a strategist, helping to manage that project. We spent 51 Dash on this. I think I said on the previous slide, we spent 132 on the quarter on the Dash platform extension. So on the Dash Core extension, it's already complete. It's a complete layer one extension wallet. I would say complete is maybe too far on that, because there still needs to be some security checks and things in terms of how the keys are stored to ensure it is ready for real use. But right now it is functional on testnet. You can send and receive Dash, maintain a balance, all the usual stuff that you would expect, and it all works as an extension. Really, this project can be used as a standalone in the future, but I see it more as a reference project for a layer 1 wallet. One of the key things here is both of these wallets are differentiated in a way from the wallet that Rion is working on, because both of these are utilizing quite a lot of libraries and dependencies, whereas I'd say that Rion's team's wallet is more of a purist and in many ways better. And I think that there's a lot of crossover learning there, where Rion removes dependencies and makes things more efficient or secure by doing so. I would like to inherit that into these various projects, but for now this is more of a quick iteration using the work that DCG's already done to get to that production level project. So yeah, as I said, this project is largely complete. There's just a little bit more work on security and some send receive flow work and syncing as well. So both of these projects combine into the DashPay wallet, which is my major overarching project, which will be a lot of work will be geared up in this next quarter on this. It is a full extension, mobile and desktop wallet with full Dash platform feature set in terms of DashPay contacts and writing and reading to data contracts, as well as a layer 1 wallet. It takes into account that private messenger DApp that Tim was talking about and integrates that in the form of payment requests and private messages. This is kind of like Venmo for Dash, and it's kind of a leapfrog in terms of wallet functionality. So you're not just saying, oh, here's my address. You can say, add me as a contact, send me messages, everything's securely decentralized. And it is a major project, which I'm excited for the work to really kick off in this next quarter. In terms of fleshing out all the features and everything. We did have a lot of work done on this project back in 2021. That work kind of hit a stalemate. We lost one of the main developers that was contributing there. And then now we're really kicking back into gear on this. So that will be a major project for next quarter. Right, Summoner's Game. I'll be talking about more on this soon, but this is a Unity engine-based turn-based strategy game. It is a very simple visually at the moment, but the gameplay is entirely complete from a logic perspective. And the idea is that this will be a reference project for game developers, Web3 game developers trying to build using Dash platform. They'll be able to integrate a library that will allow them to read and write data to Dash platform, use people's DashPay accounts for authentication and so on, use random number generation straight from transactions as the entropy, just a lot of features that are there for anyone that's a game developer to go in and wants to rapidly integrate Dash and see how that's done in a real project. Will be able to do that. It is a functional game right now. It's not super pretty, but it is very functional, and we're going to be working on the art there and turning this into more of a, rather than the 2D sort of top-down, very basic level it is now, moving into a 2.5D, which is kind of like a vertical perspective looking down on the board, and releasing it on mobile as well as desktop. And right now it's a web app too. And obviously there's the integration side with the Dash platform extension project and the wallets. Right now there's a little bit of a stalemate there because Dash platform sort of testnet isn't super reliable, but we're working on that, and we're working on using sort of a developer network to bypass those issues we're facing. But I'll be talking about this more next week, along with demos, video-wise or otherwise. Finally, Maya integration. This has been, my major project really for this quarter. Maya is the Thorchain-based decentralized exchange. Obviously, we did a lot of work in Thorchain integrating Dash into it, building a chain client for them. Maya then forked from Thorchain, and whilst Thorchain were kind of more focused on Binance and things, Maya was straight away, we want to integrate Dash as soon as possible following our launch. So we updated the Dash integration to make sure all of that was modernized and working perfectly, passing all the tests. They even did a security audit, found a few minor issues that were all instantly resolved straight away. And yeah, that integration is ready to launch, which should be this month, hopefully, potentially next month if they run into any issues. But so far, we're on track for launching Dash on Maya this month. We've also been involved in their whole launch. One of the things with launching a decentralized exchange, you have a question of like, how is a node that is the trusted sort of operator of the exchange, or one of the, whole network of trusted operators, how is that securely bonded to launch a chain when that chain doesn't have any assets on it and it doesn't have those assets to bond? So we were one of the trusted partners, along with various other large institutions like Forswap in the space, that were chosen to run a Genesis node, which is one of the 6 original nodes which holds the funds. Maya has raised around 11.5 million in their liquidity auction, which means people have bonded 11.5 million of not bonded, sorry, provided $11.5 million worth of liquidity. So it's a really strong launch so far. And I'm very excited to have Dash on there and work on getting Dash in Maya integrated into other Dash projects like our wallets and so on, just so that we can really increase the utility and use of Maya and improve that DEX's sort of distribution in our ecosystem. So yeah, that's it on the main project updates. The other one I had was finances. You can see very healthy at the moment. This is kind of, a very comfortable buffer where I feel secure in recruiting new developers and committing to them that, if they do the work, the funding is there. And that's kind of a strong value proposition for us. I think Rion has done a particularly great job of bringing new developers in, and I feel like I need to step up my game a little to do that. So I'll be... those numbers might not be completely accurate, by the way. I'm still working on that this morning. I'll be... there's some slight differences in expenditures between Ryan's sheet and this data as well, because Ryan's data has the Strategist award, which is the 20% as well. That's a good question for me. As I was talking about recruiting new developers. So in terms of skill sets, for me, I'm mainly looking for full stack really, but I'm quite happy with taking any developer and working within their core skill set. So if you're a developer that is particularly focused on .NET, I'd love to build a .NET integration for Dash. I'd like to be open-minded about these things. I think Ryan's really foot on the pulse when it comes to newer sort of stacks and technologies. And I think that, whatever your skill set is, we can try and find a home for you, really. And I don't want to be, I'm not saying that as a, wishy-washy answer. I'm saying that because we're genuinely interested in all talents and how they can work with what we're building or new projects that we're working on. For me, right now, my core developers are, in Golang and JavaScript, typically. Like, that's my, in Go and JavaScript. So that's my core stack. But if you're a C++ developer or a Java developer or even Kotlin, we'd love to hear from you. Like we're very open-minded on that sort of thing. That's my update. I did have some insights, but the key one really is that recruiting of new developers is very important. That's one, and I think Ryan's done a flagship sort of example on that. The second one, I would say, is more cohesion between the strategists that we can work on now that we're working on this projects with a fair bit of crossover. That's just something that we can kind of work on this next quarter, alongside migrating our management stack towards GitHub projects, which we'll be working on. And I've got to jump and make that happen. So that's my key insights and plans for this next quarter, really.
Thanks, Ash. Okay. Well, Rion, let's see. It looks like Rion is maybe a bit frozen from... There he is.
There he is.
I thought maybe he was meditating, and it's fine if you were.
I put him to sleep.
Right?
Sorry, that's happened more often than I would like with this internet connection here. But glad I'm back. Was there a question that I missed?
No.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. So where are we at now? My projects?
Yep.
Your updates, yeah.
Okay. All right. Just one thing to note. Maybe Amanda, you can remember this if I forget to come back to it. But Ash showed some finances where he had like income, expenditures, and whatnot. And just so everybody knows, that's Ash's specific budget to work with. And I'll go over that in a minute. And if I don't, please remind me, Amanda. But
Okay.
I'll go ahead with my actual project list here. For me, as a strategist, so this is my strategy over the past quarter has been to return to some of our fundamentals and take a break from platform specifically. That's just my personal aim right now. And so I've spent a significant amount of resources with our payment tools. And you can see here the sum of the Dash reward, 722 Dash, we've put towards, this has been mostly work with AJ. We've basically gone from the very fundamentals of transactions and addresses and building up private public key pairs and rebuilt a lot of the tooling to be browser friendly. I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head right now. Like last quarter, we started this, and I mentioned a little bit about it then. But the quote unquote Dash SDK, which is what web developers are supposed to be using for Dash applications, it's quite big, and that size could be justified depending on, if you're building on Dash platform, then definitely that's the only way to go at this point. So you're going to import that library. But for simpler projects that just want payment integrations, maybe they don't need anything related to Dash platform. We needed slim, very, very small, very streamlined, very approachable tools to be able to build those payment integrations. If you have an application, you want Dash payments, then we've built some tools that are very small and very, very easy to work with. So that's what that is. We also did quite a bit of stuff on CrowdNode. We built an SDK, a CLI, and a UI for CrowdNode, more or less as a reference implementation. Hopefully, at some point, and we may need to partner with Joel on this, but I would love to get some of this tooling now that it's built into larger projects in the crypto ecosystem. Other like major wallets, like say for example the Exodus wallet, if they want to integrate staking, they'll need to have a nice easy SDK to work with, and so that's what we've built. And the CLI, if you're a developer, if you're a nerd, and you want to use the CLI to interact with CrowdNode, that's great. We've got a command line interface for you. That was mostly developed for the purpose of debugging and testing, and but because you need to do that anyway, so you might as well build a CLI around it. So that was the second highest rewarded project that I administered. And then this incubator updates, we've talked a little bit about this already. That is these weekly updates. So you can see there are 44 tasks associated with this. That's because there's a lot of people involved and it's frequent. And this is how much we've spent on that. So you can give us your feedback and let us know, is this worth it for you? I think it probably is. It's worth it for me for the reasons that I stated before, because it keeps us on our toes and reporting to the network. So that's that. Electrum Dash, this is a project that was abandoned a little while ago. We've picked it up. We're working with the developer of the Dash Masternode tools, who I think put in his own proposal for some freshening up that tool. So that was good to see as well. But yeah, he's working on getting our Electrum Dash wallets up to date. And Joel's working with us a little bit on that, on testing. And hopefully we'll be able to have a wallet out definitely this coming quarter, that we'll have that back in operation again so that people can use that. I believe that was our only mobile wallet that was able to do mixing as well. So that should be functional next quarter. And AnyPay. This is a project that Joel brought to us. Some of their tools were broken. Some of the mobile app had a few errors that was compromising our merchants in especially the New Hampshire region, but also anywhere that AnyPay was used. So AnyPay specifically has shifted their focus on doing API support, and so they needed some help with their mobile app, and we were happy to do that because that's one of our most prominent apps for merchants to use for accepting Dash payments. So that was definitely like a necessary project. The CoinDurance site. This is an idea that I had quite a while ago and just finally started putting together. The idea here is that Dash is one of the only projects that has had a lot of staying power. And I want the CoinDurance name there is referencing that. So basic idea is if you looked at a market cap plot of market capitalization, so price times number of circulating coins, and then you took the area under that curve. That's what I want to display because Dash will definitely come out on top of most projects, because a lot of projects they'll have a pump cycle where they'll be high in the market caps, like they'll jump up to like number 30 or whatever, but they're only up there for 5 months or 6 months or maybe even a year. But there are very few projects that have been in the top 100 for multiple years, like 7-8 years, like Dash has. And so this site is going to showcase that fact that the Dash not only is currently in the top 100, but has been one of the only projects that has been in the top 100. And so if you want to talk about Dash to somebody and you're embarrassed to say, well, Dash is number 70 or whatever, number 80, then hopefully this will help that a bit, because this is not like a flash in the pan project. This is a project that has staying power. So that's what that site is. We haven't finished that or anything yet, but I've got somebody working on that. Private send, we featured this a couple weeks ago, I think, or maybe even last week. Mm-hmm. We're building a JavaScript SDK to access private send functions. And so we talked probably enough about that last week to give you an idea of that, but this is the accounting on that so far. Incubator infrastructure, this is just, we have some servers that we're running, and this is what that is for Dash Incubator org. This is more or less a catch-all. Like if we have some expenses that have to do with the incubator itself, then we put that under this project. Incubator on GitHub. This has been a long time project that we've just barely started getting back into. We are going to complete that next quarter, but it didn't make the priority this quarter. And then the modern vanilla web wallet, we've talked about that in one of our Incubator weekly shows, so refer to that if you want more details on that. And then this Dash domains and DNS is a project we got started. It's one of AJ's ideas, but we haven't yet done that. We've only done the concept on that, but we probably will spend quite a bit of effort on that next quarter. So we'll tell you more about that then. As for the accounting that I was going to talk about, if you go to this sheet, which is, I guess the title, Dash, there's a link to it.
In the chat box.
Okay, in the chat box. If you go to the reserve planning, let me bump back the Zoom here. This is an overall view of our strategists and an overall incubator finances. So when Ash was saying that he has 1,473 Dash, that's what this is. In my strategist budget, I have this much Dash, and in Tim's budget, he has this much Dash. We haven't really finalized our request for this coming quarter yet, but I just have some estimates based on what I think might be required for people here. And so you can look at this in detail, but the overall picture of our finances is that the incubator in total has 3,672 Dash right now, split between these four different accounts. So last quarter, we focused on building up our individual strategist budgets. And in doing so, we kind of drained the incubator general budget down quite a bit. So it only has 146 Dash left in it. But this coming quarter, we hope to build that up by requesting less in our internal requests for our strategist budgets. So you can kind of look at this, and at the end of, let's see, if this is March, April, May, I think these might be off by 1 month at this point. But at the end of next quarter, if we do get funded, continuing, we will request 1,000 Dash this next quarter. And if we get that funded and we have these specific budget requests internally, then we're looking at overall about a 3.6 month buffer to work with. So that's starting to get into this green area that we've been trying to get to for a little while, because we've been spending less than we've been requesting. And so where before these were all closer to 1 month of buffer at the end of a quarter, now they're closer to 3. So thank you for accepting our requests and letting us continue to develop. And that's about all I have to say, and probably all I have voice for right now.
Very good. Okay, so absent any final comments from either of the gentlemen here or any final questions, we will be happy to see you all next week at the same time and place, where it sounds like Ash is going to be joining us again to give us some demonstrations of one of his funded projects, in this case, the Summoner's Game. And yeah, we're just happy to have seen you. So we'll hope for Ryan's voice to have come back by then. And take care, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.